swag out there and boss.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out to, I guess this is technically the third in this series of panel that we've had, Sartorial and Geek, and this time we're looking at fandom, fashion, and the future. And I'll start with my left and have this lovely lady introduce herself, then I'll work my way down to the right.
Hi, I'm Frenchie. I'm a fashion designer and I do custom costumes, and I'm also a performer, so I make costumes that you can perform in. So that's what I do.
Thank you, Frenchie. Dana?
My name is Dana Wooster. I've had a blog and an Instagram for the past decade or so called Good Red Herring, focusing on fashion, geekdom, skincare, makeup, all kind of good things. I guess at this point that's generally considered lifestyle. As far as fandoms go, I'm not going to say that I ever really grew out of my deep and abiding love for Sailor Moon. I'm a romance reader, but sci-fi, fantasy are my faves, but fandom-wise, which is also when I'll slide in. Did anybody else also see the $15,000 Jimmy Choo Sailor Moon sandals that just came out?
I did.
Very soon.
Oh,
That was it. I'm saying.
Black Tony Stark?
Yep.
So I'm William Mapp. I'm actually a tech guy up here, but I've always been a fan of fashion. My fandoms are science fiction and fantasy. I do love reading the classics like Dracula. I used to read and listen to Dracula, and I would go running early in the morning, and that boardroom passage in Dracula scares the shit out of me every single time. I would like to see men's fashion take more risks, and even I'm a fan of Westworld, and even some of the forward-looking fashion in that show just doesn't seem like there's a lot of risk taking, and so that's kind of where I fall in the fashion space.
Thank you, Rick. Side note, I watched Nosferatu for the first time 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Thoroughly loved it. The updated soundtrack was boring as hell. But it's a good film. So I am government name Elvin Hawks, but the internet knows me as Webster Style. I am Webster Style, the man in waste of fragrance. I am the proprietor of WebsterStyle.com and also the host of the Sartorial and Geek podcast by Webster Style, which drops weekly. The new one just came out this morning, so you can find it on Spotify, Anchor, Apple iTunes, all that good stuff. And I am just a geek who loves to dress in classic style, and that's where a lot of this panel topic came from. And then luckily I have wonderful friends and colleagues that have their own opinions and perspectives, and we're here to talk amongst ourselves and also engage in the audience or with the audience as to what your opinions are of sort of geek style, fashion, and sort of the future. So I'll lead off with this question, and I'll start with Dana first. How does your fandom influence your style?
I think it influences my style in such a way because it influences my style by encouraging me to stay true to what I love, right? I think growing up as someone who loved books that were not always the most popular, I had to kind of stand in my own 2 feet and be like, this is what I read, this is what I love. And that feeds into the fact that my style might not look like everyone else's, but it is mine and it belongs to me and it represents who I am when I show myself into the world. I'm like so many people who live in the area, a government contractor, and very quickly it was made clear to me that my style was different than what they had expected or what they had seen before. But it was a very positive reaction to it. So my love for Sailor Moon, my love for romances, my love for urban fantasy encourages me to stay true to who I am and take risks when I feel that they're true to that path.
All right, that's awesome. Frenchie, how about you?
I'm actually kind of the same way, and because I can make my own outfits, I get to put in the classic cosplays with this imagination that just comes up in my head, and then I get to create something that's completely different, but you still know what it is. And so that's just, I love Marvel, anything that's Marvel, like cat suits, like stuff that I'm wearing right now. Anything that makes you feel powerful, that you can just be you, you can just express yourself through what you're wearing. And the amount of compliments I got just from wearing this, it makes you feel good and you're comfortable and you enjoy what you're wearing.
I like that. I think for me personally, a lot of what even I wear is all about what makes me feel comfortable as well. Well, how about you?
So for me personally, I'm a entrepreneur, business owner, and depending on the circles I'm in, I have to dress fairly conservative. But what I do try to do is accent my fashion in subtle ways, like I wear a Tomorrowland pin. It's also one of the best conversation starters on the planet. Everyone's like, is that Tennessee? I'm like, no, of course not, it's Tomorrowland. But it also helps my identity. Like, I believe in a much better future. You know, I'm very forward thinking. Some people think I'm Pollyanna when it comes to people. I've also accented with the Tomorrowland cufflinks. You know, with men's fashion, you can't really take too many risks, but people like to talk about my socks from time to time. And so I try to express myself in ways that, you know, aren't always ostentatious. But when I start talking to people and it's like, oh, what's up with this collar? Like, what is that? And so like people just like, oh, they start just tugging on my clothes. And so I try to express myself as best as I can, but at the same time, be able to present myself where people can take me ridiculously seriously.
I think that's the great thing about being a geek and loving fashion, is the ways in which we have the inspiration to interpret it means that it can be very in your face or it can be very subtle. And those connections, those touch points that you make with people are totally dependent on whether you want to be upfront about it.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I loved about him very much with Will. I have always dressed very conservatively, but one of the things I've really looked to experiment with is color and being more expressive with color. And with that, I've done outfits where it's like Wolverine themed or Iron Man themed based on the color scheme of whatever I have. And much like Will as well, I try to accent as best I can with what I have. And right now I'm wearing Captain Picard socks because it's red and black, and the whole thing for the day was Deadpool, so I had Deadpool mask and all that jazz. I'm like, okay, I need red and black socks. Captain Picard works just as well. But even with that, this is still not too dissimilar what I wear into the office, really to go with whatever theme that I wanted to. But I want to touch on just the point that both Dana and Frenchie made as far as that expressiveness, that really being confident in who you are. And that's a lot of what my own personal style code really does. It gives me my own Iron Man suit of armor when I go out into the world every single day. It's how I really look at it. Like, this is how I express myself. This is how I protect myself. But this is also how I am able to conquer the world at large. So that's my take on it. So I will start with Will on this one. How do you think style options have changed for people in fandom, not necessarily geeks or blurs or what have you, but just in general, because we are living in a world where anime is everywhere. Marvel is dominating the box office. You know, it is no longer, I mean, we have spaces like this. You and I were talking earlier today, and mind you, I've known Will since my freshman year of college, which was 1996, so we've known each other a quarter of a century now. And this sort of space did not exist when we were in college. We were, well, I wouldn't say we were odd men outs because our friends were very much like we were.
I thought I was cool, but I wasn't until after I graduated.
But I say these spaces didn't exist back then. Now we look at it and, you know, you have Blerdcons, you have DreamCons, you have all the things that we love, everybody loves now. So how, in your opinion, has this explosion of geek culture to become the mainstream pop culture, how do you think that has impacted the options for what you wear and how you express yourself through your dress?
So you led me off of this question even though I was wearing a spacesuit. So I'm wearing a spacesuit. So I think that for what we're starting to see is a little bit of a bleed over from, you know, some of the more modernistic, futuristic stuff into just like everyday wear. Like, all right, so Black Tony Stark. Like, I'm a Tony Stark fan. I'm an Iron Man fan. He puts on the armor. He wears a suit when he's doing his AI stuff. But he also wears a jumpsuit. But the jumpsuits are typically fairly stylish, right? And so, really, what you're seeing, I think, is that things have a higher degree of fashion quality, even like a tracksuit or a shortsuit. It's just they're a little bit dressier. You can actually pull it off at work. You can wear it with slacks. There are times that I've worn slacks with like just a regular shell top as well. And so like you're able to do this sort of a clash between your fandoms as well as being, you know, dressed for work. I did, however, see a dude in DC on a Wednesday wear something that looked like it came out of Cowboy Bebop, and he looked like he was going to work. And so people are just trying to take the small subtleties. Are the lapels changing? You know, are you just doing something, you know, very simple on how you wear the thing, just give it a little bit more style and pizzazz? I think, and I said this in 2018, I think Dana wanted to slap me. I think that women have a little bit more latitude to take fashion risks, and that migration is a little bit slower for men, but you're starting to see it where you can integrate some of the things we see on TV in your regular clothes, but it's not so much as a jarring experience where people aren't used to actually seeing someone pull off a suit. Subtle changes might actually make it work.
Well, I think the pervasiveness, sorry to like, you didn't ask me, but the pervasiveness of...
See, that's 2018.
No, I'm not talking about that. I've been there, done that, been there. No, what I wanted to address is the fact that I think the pervasiveness in fandom and pop culture in the everyday life has, from what I've seen, led to a democratization of fashion accessibility. So people are kind of like revving and making new takes on what they're used to or what they think is geeky fashion because they have access to more options. And so people are sewing, people are creating, people are making it their own, and then they're marketing it, then they're selling it. Like you go downstairs or into the vendor's hall and there are these really incredible denim jackets that are painted and panels on the back because it's now totally acceptable when people can do it and they can sell it and make a living on it. So instead of it being gatekept with certain houses or certain particular brands, like not everybody can be Hot Topic or Her Universe. Like that can't be the only option. It's also not very size inclusive. So I think the fact that it is so mainstream now means that there are more options fashion-wise.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the internet today, you have access to so much information, so many outfits, so many patterns, so many ideas. You can take pictures and videos from the internet, mesh them together, and you have a whole new outfit. And then it comes to materials. You can use spandex, you can use cottons, you can use Worbla to make armor or crafting foam, and it can be unisex as well. So that really changes the whole perspective of everyone has that option of having that suit.
Has anybody seen Rachel Maxey on YouTube?
No.
She does a lot of like makes every week, but she had one on everyday armor.
Oh, actually, I think I might have seen that.
So it is Worbla, but it's like I'm gonna build this like little colette, whatever those things are called, or it's like just casually working it in. Well, she has somewhat of a vintage aesthetic anyway, but still, it's just a casual expression going out into the world, incorporating some armor inspired.
Yeah. So it really it changes the whole perspective, and it's just there's so much out there that you can create that you can buy.
Now I would ask you this, and that's you make very well, all three make very good points, and I never looked at it that way. With how our habits have changed in the past 2 years because of COVID, how has that impacted that aspect of things? Or in your opinion, I should say.
I've definitely done a lot more research, and like with COVID, because we're shut in, I've had that opportunity to experiment a bit more and play around with different materials. And it's like I went to one of the Smithsonian's and I saw the costumes from the Eternals, the movie with Angelina Jolie, and that also just gave me a whole new perspective on how to build a bodysuit, a cat suit, just pants or like a shirt or a vest. It just gives you that perspective because you're there, you're stuck. You have to think, you have to create, you have to get out of it.
I think we all kind of saw the rise of the nicer sweatsuit as we were all at home or like really good at leisure, whether you pick a brand that's like ethically, sustainably made or just something from Nike, who I love too, so let me not like hate them too badly here. But I think that kind of reinforced the casual absorption of fandom into the everyday life, because more people were wearing t-shirts, more people were wearing sweats. They could wear proudly on their chest and no one questioned them about why they were wearing what they were wearing, or because it was like just what you did. I had to think about the fact that when I came here today, I was like, I'm wearing jeans and a corset, hard pants and seals? Like, what am I doing to myself? Right? Thank you. It's, so it kind of, I think, it showed you who your people were, because they wore their stuff more often. But on the other hand of that, I got pushed so far into casual that now when I dress up, I feel weird.
Yeah.
I went through months of like looking at my face without makeup, and now when I wear makeup, I feel weird.
I mean, I think that's the weird dichotomy that actually happened. I was going to say that, I mean, it might be controversial, but it kind of was a laziness because people would just kind of wear whatever when they go out. Or it was the other extreme, it's like it'll be dressed to the nines with some really experimental stuff because, you know, it's the end of the world and a pandemic, no fucks are given, so let me try this out. I think it just gave people a little bit of perspective in that we were all kind of freaked out, like, you know, who's gonna get COVID, am I gonna get COVID, a million deaths, but at the same time, it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna say fuck it, I'm just gonna sit around in sweatpants all day, or fuck it, like, I don't care what people think anymore. And I think a lot of people have had that, and we saw that as well as fashion, even from traditional fashion houses where things are just loud now because people have been shut in for so long.
Yeah, it's like there was a fashion show, I think it was Tom Ford or Tom something, and his entire fashion show was just these extra large sweaters just tied onto the models. That's all it was, just extra large sweaters. And it's like you couldn't even see the models, that's how much sweater was on them. I mean, that's super comfortable, but I wouldn't go out with it,
Exactly.
you know?
But then at the same time, you've got Moeve selling Totoro sweaters for $2,500.
Exactly. So,
Oh yeah, that was the
That's
first one.
insane.
They did Spirited Away too.
it's insane.
So I own a vintage clothing store, and the thing I've heard the most from customers in the last 2.5 years is, yeah, but where am I ever going to wear it? And the answer that I have come up with is, I started doing something that I call Fancy Tuesdays.
I like that.
So for much of the pandemic, on Tuesdays I make a point of wearing something that I would normally save for a special occasion.
Yeah.
Whether it's a type of clothing or good jewelry or just good hair, something that I wouldn't bother with ordinarily. And a lot of stuff would have sat in my closet for 2 years otherwise.
I tend to tell people put a denim jacket on top. Tulle, silks, gowns, whatever. You put right denim jacket, belt, add some boots. No, it's just like slightly casual. I just felt like a
Or do a
little
leather
fancy
jacket
today.
and something in your bucket and
Yeah.
season warm. You have to go, die a little, but you have to.
I'm one of the weird ones. I still got up and got dressed, even though I still sit in front of a computer for my regular job, because I would not get out of bed if I'm not getting dressed in the
I
morning.
changed from pajamas to athleisure. Okay, my girlfriend collected her Nike sets were a choice I made, so I still think it counts.
I don't have leisure clothes.
So
That's
you
the
know,
thing. You haven't found the right leisure clothes. Because you got fancy leisure clothes and then you have the stuff I wear. You know? Like, it's like I'm going to go to Target and buy a pair of sweatpants and a really crappy hoodie and I'm going to be comfortable. But then again, I sew all day.
Yes. But I want to make bring up something or add something that Dan brought up with that rise in, and even French as well, that rise in accessibility. And since people are home, you see a lot more accessibility. One of the people who were originally going to be panelists, Quincy from Everyday Cosplay, she is someone who started a business dealing with that casual wear that was anime inspired. And I've seen a lot of those businesses come up because one, there was a demand because, hey, we're at home, and you casual wear, but two, just like we talked about that fandom and really tapping into what we all love, we all here because we have a fandom.
And because we were all online.
That-
And instead
exactly.
of feeling constrained to the market right in front of you, you realized how many other people were out there
Right.
who wanted what you were making or what you could provide.
And these are things you're not finding in Target or Walmart, any place like that, but they're now readily accessible because we are literally all online. It's a very great point. Now, with that, we talked about how we see things going now, how things have changed in the pandemic. What do you see going forward for the future? And Frenchie, I'll start with you.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, with the way I see the world is that anything is possible. So as long as you enjoy what you're wearing, that's going to determine what path you're going to go down or what costume or cosplay you're going to choose. And then for me, I like to elaborate. So I'll redo an outfit over and over again, and I'll modify it and change it. It's like I did a Miss Marvel cosplay, and it went from a skimpy bodysuit to a full catsuit. And I don't know, I guess like as I got older, I feel like being more covered is the new sexy. Because yes, it's great to show skin. I love showing skin, but having that aesthetic of you don't know what's under those clothes, it leaves room for the imagination, and I think that's important. Having that imagination is what keeps the magic alive.
I like that point of view. Well, how about you? What do you think we're going as far as the future is concerned?
So I saw a video last month of printable materials that basically 3D printed objects. And so I think the future is that we're going to get to a level of sophistication. Like I design my own shirts, right? I go to a website, I get my wife to measure me, I upload the measurements, and I can get all kinds of patterns. I think in the future, if the technology continues to progress, you can make up your own patterns and cloths and fabrics and textures the same way we kind of print blocks out now and create your own.
There are websites like that.
Yeah, but I think the next thing though is being able to experiment and then adjust and say, print this for me, and that newly created fabric could be something that has a different or a richer texture that you can then wrap and then sew and then make your own clothing materials. And that's where I kind of think it's going to go. I just kind of think that one of the things with fashion is self-expression, and I think allowing people to express themselves is really where it's going to be at. And so that's the future that I would like to see.
And this is, I was going to say also recycled materials.
So with what you're talking about, and I know there's also things like eShopsy, things like that, where you plug in your measurements to get like a custom garment. Somebody does still have to like cut and pin, and so like we haven't really gotten to the point where
A machine.
the actual assembly of a garment can be done by machine, and the labor end of things, the people who are actually in sweatshops making the garments that are getting turned out at a alarming clip are like it's bad. It's a bad situation.
Yeah.
It's very bad.
I will say, so I'm kind of thinking about the future kind of like in two ways, right? So you have the more immediate future as far as there have been more discussions in the fashion sphere lately in regards to ethical and sustainable and what does that mean? Like what does that actually mean for the people that are producing your clothes, whether it's climate or for the people in front of you or both. There are more conversations about that now than I think there have ever been, and I think we will continue to do so, just kind of I think the way we continue to talk more about size inclusivity and size accessibility and modeling and modding clothes so that people can wear them and express themselves. I would like to see that conversation keep going, but we can't always be Hanifa, who's doing like totally virtual fashion shows as cool as those are. But I actually am kind of watching, does anybody else follow Business of Fashion? If you care about this, they send they have an actual paid subscription to their like articles, but they all send you a wrap up like every day. I'm intrigued to see what happens with fashion expression and fandom expression in the metaverse and virtual reality spaces. Because that seems to be, there's this really terrifying article talking about a reporter who was playing around in the metaverse and then also immediately got sexually assaulted virtually. It was like, yeah, that sounds about exactly right. But to give people the opportunity to choose new ways to showcase themselves that have nothing to do with the physical, I think will be intriguing to watch. Like not just fashion houses playing around with NFTs, which is another thing they're looking at, but I'm not gonna get into that. But to have that freedom, but I'm sure it's gonna be a capitalism bent, right? Like, is Jimmy Choo or is like Chanel, are you gonna buy that file to carry a Chanel bag virtually? I don't know. I could see it happening.
I can see that happening too.
I can see it happening, but I think the X factor is that with the right tooling, you may not, what Jimmy Choo creates, even virtually, may not be very compelling.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I'm pretty sure we can all walk and find a designer who's not Jimmy Choo and just be blown away by their designs. But I think that, especially virtually, the tools are so inexpensive, and you have way more creative freedom, that Jimmy Choo may have to compete even harder. It's kind of like, was anyone at the Orlando Jones interview when he talked about TikTok and having your own TikTok channel versus trying to make it the traditional path in Hollywood? The thing with virtual, as you said, democratization earlier, is that it does allow you to democratize all of these elements because it is virtual, it's virtually infinite. And so our brains and minds have all this capacity. We can theoretically out Jimmy Choo if we wanted to.
This something you said about that, and the whole metaverse thing reminds me of smartwatches. And for me, I never understood the concept of buying a watch face, because why am I buying a Bulova watch face or a Rolex watch face for this Misfit smartwatch? If that's what I wanted, that's what I would buy. And I'm really buying just the way it looks, and it's not really great. It's the aesthetic. It's not really a compelling argument for me to pay $5.99 for a watch face for a watch that I don't own, just so it looks like a Rolex. And that's the way I'm looking at what the argument you're making. At least the question you're making was saying about the metaverse. But I want to even go a step further with that. And this is something that's digital, like actually in the space. But one of the things that we've seen try to take off in the past few years is connected clothing. I know what Levi's had some connected denim a few years ago. You have things like the e-vest and things, but these things never seem to take off with the general public. And then now more so, you have more and more of glasses. Google Glass pretty much died and fizzled out. Snap has their spectacles. But I'm saying Ray-Ban.
The camera glasses.
Right.
Well, I think they're still very expensive. I think they're still, at this point, they're a little bit bulky. And I think the people who would buy them are also very aware of the security concerns that you have once you track yourself beyond your phone, right? Like when it's in your glasses, when it's in your clothing, and you wear them every day, right? It's like, when you have to have concerns about whether your vibrator is connected to a Wi-Fi and what that means, like as a woman, I went to a panel, it was terrifying. Or excuse me, as a person who uses sex toys, go live your best life.
That sounds scary.
Like it is connected to a Wi-Fi. If it is like on a network like that, it could be hacked. What does that mean?
Well, that might just be dumb as hell.
Right? Agreed. But so it's just at the bare minimum, we're in a, sorry, not to go like real dark, but about the surveillance state, it's how many more things voluntarily we're going to take on. I'm not worried about the vaccine giving me a chip because I carry a phone.
Yeah. And your phone listens to you.
Yes,
Like
it does.
you have targeted ads. You have targeted ads for a reason because your phone actually listens to you. It's like I was talking about a cat tree the other day. I got 5 ads within an hour to buy cat trees. It's like it was just a random conversation, but my phone knew. It was Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even ads that came up on Google. It's like you're monitored.
In regard to the connected clothing as a technologist, is that they always seem cooler than it actually is, and it's really for any garment. One purpose of it is to protect your skin and to cover your body. The other stuff, the additions of it, it really does have to be useful. And right now, there really isn't a killer app, so to speak, for connected clothing. I do, however, find the glasses technology appealing now that you can get a pair of glasses that look like an actual pair of glasses. There are privacy issues with that. Totally, completely understand that. But the idea of being able to have information delivered to me visually, quickly, is very, very, very appealing. A question? Just go ahead, sure.
Sort of question, kind of comment. Because when we're talking about like clothing and technology, I kind of always go back to the Future. Remember when he was there and he had the jacket that automatically dried itself and then it like adjusted to his body. And I really wanted like clothing and technology to go in that direction. And it's kind of disappointing that we're not there yet. Like, could I like order a suit from Amazon and put it on, and it measures me, custom tailored suit right there. You know, forget the gravity boots. That's what I would.
But that goes back to the other point that people are still making everyone's clothes.
Right.
As much as we love to like poo-poo fast fashion, it's like, oh, fast fashion. It's like people are still making those clothes.
Someone has tested a sewing machine and do every single one of those. And like the degree to which I think most people are completely divorced from understanding how clothes are made is worrying.
Well, it's also like in the company's best interest, right? That we don't know.
Yeah.
They don't want us to understand. Because then we're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, well, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of comment, like with the talking about the glasses and making contacts now the same thing, like Disney's working behind that. Like we talk about the metaverse, but then what about the clothing then that would have like the AR capabilities? So you could have, you could have your suit on that you're wearing right now, but when I throw on my glasses, it might be like your avatar or something else that you're doing to kind of represent yourself, or you could dress somewhere where it would be like stereotypical, like, oh, he's in the super professional suit when he's going out, but someone looks at your avatar and that's some old like, oh, what the, well, this is some real lit stuff that they got going on here that might not be, that you might not be able to display in those type of environments and things like that. So, I get what you're saying, like the technology and that connectedness and the clothing doesn't serve a purpose, but a lot of times for a lot of people, we kind of move beyond like the clothing just serving as the coverage, and it serves more that representation. But it's hard to sometimes show what you want to be all the time and still be able to do those kind of things and different avenues. Still, we're not at that point where you can dress anywhere you want anywhere, because that's not. I don't think
Because it's
ever
like
coming anytime
people are
soon.
buying designers.
But but it's not even like the designers,
Well, it's
because
like-
because I think that's the flip side of it with the technology
Yeah.
piece is like y'all done already said like Tom Ford and all these other people that like I don't respect none of that stuff because they just all copy a lot of older designs and just put a name on it a lot of times and things like that. But now it's that programmer, it's the person downstairs in Hall B or Hall C down there. That's a programmer that's setting you up with that suit now. Every time you walk around, it looks like you got It's like you got the Halo Massachusetts suit on. It's just
I just wanted
whatever,
to say that fashion was like a communication piece,
Yeah.
right? Like, so it's like how we're presented to the world, so that's how we're talking to the world and how we want people to talk to us. So I think people would be willing to pay a lot of money.
Well, and then that's the other thing is, we have our separate lives, right? I don't go to work like this.
Well, you look fantastic, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I work in a financial corporate setting. So if you do all of this technology for all of that, I'm sorry, I don't need my international students knowing what I do. And it's like, then it becomes that private, technology, great, the suit fits, you can put on the contacts and see, and then you just need some boss to look at it, and then all of a sudden there's these laws now that, well, you can't use this technology to, and it's like a lot of things sound so great, so futuristic, but let's see. How has the world treated a lot of this stuff thus far? We can't handle it. We really can't. We're not ready for it. We're not there yet. So it's like.
But there's a converse to that as well, though, is that on the same token where you may want to just be able to show your true self, you can also do the inverse and play the game and show them someone that they want to see in another environment. And so if you're walking into if yourself is not the financial button-down look, for that moment in time that you're there, then your metaverse suit could just be that role at that time. But everything underneath is the same. It's just another way of wearing the mask.
You lose humanity.
Yeah.
You lose
That's
a
fair as
natural,
well.
You lose the
basic
connection.
human instinctual interaction there. It's the reason why, for myself, I've got tats all over my arms. I don't hide it because I'm like, I am professional. I am professional with this. No, I'm not going to come in there with my ribbon tails, but still,
But that's
for the job that I'm doing. But do understand, I am not the cookie cutter either. So it's finding that fine line, and it's creating that human discussion of, that's right, somebody that think knows how to take care of your business. Type thing.
I
It's
do
like,
dress like that.
if you go too far, then you miss the human.
Yeah,
The human part.
I agree with that.
We should go really far and say this is like a discussion then about like humanity, right? And as with the advent of better technologies and like, if someone only can feel and interact with something in the real world, does that actually mean that they're not human or not? Like then it, but sorry, I don't know.
So I was gonna say, I do dress like this at work, but A, I'm self-employed. And B, that doesn't mean I'm gonna give my customers my Tumblr.
Yeah.
You know, like there are still parts of my life that are not for every single person that I meet. And having the ability to pick and choose who sees which aspects of that is something that I think we all want. And the drive towards you having your real name everywhere you go in every realm, online or off, is like bad, actually.
Yeah, I don't use my real name. I rarely give my real name. I always go by my nicknames, just to keep my privacy, to keep my anonymity, to keep my family safe, my friends safe, just all that. So.
Yes, ma'am.
This has nothing to do with the whole wearable technology type stuff, but more so like, since we are talking about work and stuff, how can you kind of like show your personality at work, like with work? Because like, I don't know, I just wear slacks and a polo, and I hate getting dressed every day because I'm wearing slacks and a polo.
But so like they talked about socks, so I would say one, think about socks. Two, does work determine what color your slacks are?
Yeah. No, I like dark colors, so gray and black.
But you said you're not happy with your slacks. Would you be happier with your slacks if they were different color? If they fit
I
differently?
think it's the concept of wearing slacks, honestly.
How do you feel about
Do you
that?
have to wear slacks?
No, it's just easy.
Well, then there's your answer. There is your answer.
Out of your comfort zone.
You've chosen convenience, which is a legitimate choice. Not to knock this choice,
Yeah.
but then I would say like, are your ears pierced? Do you wear jewelry? Do you
Yeah,
wear-
I have, my ears are
Gauges.
stretched, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say like, bring things that make you happy into those other things that you like wear.
It's like your
Are
glasses.
your slacks like textured? You could have slacks that have different texture. You could
Like
wear pockets
corduroy.
with your slacks.
Ooh, you can have fun pockets in your
Yeah,
slacks.
there's some stuff you can do with
That's
slacks.
wild, I used to go to clearance rack, but
Would you then the money that you put in getting them tailored
Yeah.
makes a perfect pair of pants that you can afford.
yeah.
Like,
And that you'll love.
Yeah.
You'll be comfortable, you'll be you.
like I love the idea of fun pockets. Like in your slacks, you pulled out like,
And it'll be like pink.
right?
That'd be so cute.
It's like the pants you're wearing right now.
Yeah, that'd be
Those
cool.
are super cool.
Thank you.
Could you wear those?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right. So level set. All right.
Can
Well,
wear
could you
dresses
wear
at work?
something similar?
Can I tell you a secret? Dresses are one item of clothing. You put it on and you're done getting dressed. It's actually less work and people think you try harder.
That's true.
I would concur with that.
No, I was gonna say in terms of like expressing your fandom, but also being professional. Back when I had an office, and my office was a thing. One of the things I love to do at cons is always buying artwork and meeting the artists and getting time. And my office was like plastered with like all the artwork. And they're definitely conversation starters. I'm still dressed professional, but it's like let's be clear. Like, this is who I really am. And people come in, they just around talking. It's like, hey, I met this artist, and this is their philosophy of art. And it's just like it's not necessarily fashion, but it's still a way that like you can still be clear about. Yeah, I'm a nerd. And I love that.
Also, does work
And this
dictate
is
your
my
hair
nerd.
color or your hair? in
Oh, this is
general?
a wig.
Well, that's I know
That's
like
like
general.
You can
But I
change
just that's like, so like do you kind of have a
Anime
natural
character
looking
today.
hair?
Do you have to wear a polo shirt?
No, it's just, business casual, I'm
Oh,
working
well,
on
You can do so much
You
with
can do a
this.
whole bunch of
There's
stuff.
so much you can do.
You don't have to work. We can't fix that for you.
In the comments.
Handbags. I don't own a single purse or bag that is what I call mundane. I'm from New York. I've been on the train and I've had what looks like whatever fancy Prada-ish style bag, and people are like, wait, those are all Star Wars characters. And it's in simple things like that. So many. I have a Chewbacca bag, and people are like, oh my God, you're walking around with Chewbacca. and it's in those simple things, even with your polo and slacks, it's in the accessories you carry. Especially because, and men too, satchels. knapsacks, in their ties, the lapel pins, earrings, you know,
And I'm
all
a big fan of what Will said about texture and fit.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you can have a very simple piece outfit and have pieces that fit you impeccably that you feel good in, and then you will feel better in what you're wearing. But you have to put you don't have to put all the time in the world in the
Yeah.
front end, but it does create a little bit of work.
Yeah, start with one item at a time.
Yeah.
Like just one thing to change and that makes you feel like you.
I say go buy a yard of really cute fabric and find yourself someone to make you new pockets for the slacks you already own. That's what.
I mean, pockets.
Yeah. I
Or
I
you
have a
could do
sewing
like the
machine, so I
lining
can
of your
type
cuffs
this.
of your slacks.
Yeah.
So when you turned up the cuffs, you had fun. Sorry.
I will say though, texture, I've learned texture is really important. And you can have a lot of fun just with mixing textures. I mean, I have them all black, but everything I have, what is a different texture, a different material, and it just gives a different look. Well, it just gives a different look, even though it's all monochrome outside the tie. And being able to mix and match different textures, you can really have a lot of fun with it and really change up the sort of style and how you want to present yourself as well.
And Dan actually said something about getting a pair of slacks altered with a different lining. So one of the things that, this is a boring one, but one of the things I like to get my suits to get the lining changed. No one knows that it's there, but it could be fire engine red and paisleys or purple or anything else. But the fact is that I know it's there, and even though I'm looking like this, I'm like, all right, I got my red lining on. I got my armor on. I'm ready to go out here and do my thing.
No mushrooms?
No, I had one brown suit in my life, and that was when I was 13. I will not go back.
Vintage clothes have so many of those fun details. I love finding a really cool lining or just great little pocket details or just cool buttons. And
I had a pair of pants where the lining in the pocket was a different color, so in order to see, you had to actually show it, and it's
but you know it's there.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, a lot of this is so much about you feeling comfortable in what you're wearing and you enjoying it. I know, and we all know that, especially talking about work, you have to have a certain dress code because it's work. And, you know, depending on your job, most of our jobs, you have to look a certain way, you have to conform, but there's still many ways to be self-expressive, personally and in your fandom by extension, within your job. And that's one of the reasons why this panel even started, because this was the conversation we had.
I also refuse to say that business casual has to be boring.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of color as well, but I have a sweater vest with embroidered clouds on it. I wear that shit to work. Tell me something about my sweater vest, okay? What do you, right? I have bright red slacks. What are you gonna say? I'm fully in accordance with dress code.
Doesn't say it have to be black or brown or tan, bright red.
I have all those colors, and those are great too. But
You can wear sweaters made of fur.
I
do. I mean,
We'll go faux fur.
That's too
Yes, sir.
Also, the fit of clothes can be unique to you. There's a certain, I found a particular style of slacks that I like, and I just bought a particular color from one of those. So, the way they fit, the length of them, are they a little bit tighter to, the hips or whatever, that kind of stuff. How do you like to, wear your shirts, whatever. Just a fit that's unique to you, and that could be part of your personal brand or your style.
you could start with pins.
Well, I have pins.
There you go.
Let's start, yeah, do that. It's so for me, I'm French.
I collect
I
pins.
mean,
So you
know what? I collect pins too. I got problems. You know what? Never mind. Go ahead.
Society conversation about pins.
No, I was gonna say I'm French and I spent a lot of time in Italy, and I'm pretty sure I don't have a pair of blue jeans. Every single one of my jeans is either green, ochre, dark red, gray. You don't have to conform to what society dictates to you. Because that's another thing. Society tells you you're weird.
But we have
Don't
more
dress like
examples now to say that you're not.
Right.
The internet has helped with that.
And all you're doing is you're just pushing the limits of society's norms in your own way, in whatever subtle way you can. You're just trying to.
Just keep pushing.
You're making them better people. because they're gonna understand, just like Catwoman said over here, that like my cool pockets or my lapel pins do not mean that I'm not great at my job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or my colorful piece of clothing does not mean I'm great at my job.
What about your sheet? We
We can go on this
I
forever,
mean, we
man.
broke it down like everything else, right? So it's like,
I wear
Book
lucky
a
brand
consultation.
ballet flats.
And that's totally fine.
That's it. I have black, white, tan, brown, and that's it. Because matches everything.
And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I really appreciate this panel, because part of me is like, I got into anime, I got into the fandom like a lot later on, like I was out of college, and that's kind of always kind of been a disconnect for me, is like, how do I connect to the fandom and not always in the geeky kind of a way, but just, I'm still an adult, like, I want to talk about the philosophy of it, the style of it, and that approach to it, and to hear you guys talk about it like that on the same wavelength is just, thank you so much, and I really appreciate that talking about it.
It is a good bag.
he was showing that sucker off today
was
while I was
free.
wearing my space.
I appreciate it. No, I work for Coach, and it's the only brand I really believe in. And
Oh, I thrifted a Coach bag recently here in Virginia, and I bought some other paint on Amazon. And then I drew notice on the front.
Oh, that's cool.
And so now it's like a Spirited Away bag that I.
Like that one for $1,200 you put on your grip?
Yes, that is that one, yeah.
Awesome.
Because I did not have $1,200. Something very similar to that. Yep. It's got the little mouse on the inside when the sun gets turned into them. It's got like little, candy stars on the side.
Nice. I'm gonna go back to pins real quick because I like no, because this is something. It's so simple. I have pins. I have buttons. Like I have like these collection of buttons. I have like Care Bears and Q Bears, like 80s stuff, and I proudly wear them instead of a lapel pin on my suits all the time. So I love the Atari one for obvious reasons. I'm old, but and also, well, the Atari symbol is so iconic, but it's just that red and that white. It stands out. It adds such a pop, especially if I'm wearing something like this. Like, you can't help but notice it. You can't help but have somebody ask a question. Whether it's someone that's a millennial who has a certain association with Atari, if they have one at all, or someone my age was like, yo, I had a 2600 with the wood grain, and my first game was that abysmal Pac-Man game. Like, it's always a conversation starter, but they know who you are and what you're about when they see something like that. So even something as subtle as that can definitely pretty much wave your geek flag to everyone around.
And we have a little sewing pin in the thread. You could replace the buttons.
Yes, oh, that's
Like
awesome.
if you have a well-fitting button down that you like and you want like different colored buttons, you can go for that. You could buy colored thread
I was
and
gonna say,
sew
yeah,
on the
color.
buttons with the design.
On YouTube, you have tutorials on how to make like different designs, like stars, flowers, hearts.
When you sew the button down.
Yeah.
Or like with your polo shirts, like these are different.
it's
The
pretty.
thread here is different. The buttons are different colors.
Yeah.
You can just mix it up that way. Or even to get different textured buttons. They have like navy buttons. They have buttons with stars.
We're
on
all
them.
super conditioned to like accept the clothes as they're given to us.
Yeah.
And none of that is true.
Mm-hmm.
And none of it is, not all of it has to be expensive or like arduous. So, but it's a thing that we're not used to thinking about.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned
Still, I know, I'm sorry.
your unique creative clothes to work. Have you ever had the comment that even though it's within dress code, it's distracting? Is that something you've been told before?
I've had that many times.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
I
do
know
you-
and that's just, it's distracting because they don't understand it. They don't understand you. They don't want to understand you.
I haven't gotten it, but I think unfortunately it's like we're all stuck under like the capitalist grind. And so I would say if I had received that comment, it was an indicator to me that it had to be more subtle. And like that's not an answer that I like to give, but it's also the realistic one. It's like we're all stuck with it. But it could be something where maybe I was going too far too fast. And so to walk those steps forward a little bit more subtly might lead to a final effect that I'm more
Like,
happy
oh, this
with.
is a girl who does X, Y, Z. and this.
Right. So my hair is this color now. Like I said, government contractor, real super boring. It started with like a pearly kind of brown with like hints of lavender, and then it went like dark pink. This is red. Then it was just fucking purple. And no one said anything. They were great, but it's because like but I started with baby steps because I don't trust anyone. So it might just be an indicator of that. And it still might not work because people suck. And it might turn out to be something where it's like your pockets or your buttons might be where you find your joy.
And also, don't forget, their opinion actually doesn't matter. Their opinion is nor right nor wrong. So as long as you feel comfortable in what you're wearing.
Except you still have to have a paycheck. Sorry.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But don't get fired.
Don't get fired.
That's why. I'm really Debbie Downer. I'm really sorry.
No. That's a valid point. That's a very valid point.
There's certain realisms, and unfortunately, we live into our times.
You have.
Yes, we have.
But we haven't gotten to her shoes yet.
No, she said ballerina. She wears ballerina shoes.
I know, but like,
She good.
Dana, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yes, thegoodredherring.com, because I've not transferred over to my new .com. I'm Good Red Herring on Instagram and all other social platforms, including TikTok, so I do not make TikToks. I'm not as good as Frenchie. I'm selling more clothes now, though. That's like a whole adventure of like the pandemic. But yes, so you can find me in all sorts of places.
Frenchie.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's just Jaimoda, Jaimoda LLC. And if you want something custom, just shoot me a message. I'll give you price ranges and everything.
She does great work. I'm a customer. And Will.
You can find me on Instagram at willmap, 2 P's.
All right, there you go. And you can find me on Webster Style, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and _Webster Style on TikTok. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
I hope you got that. We did.
Swag out them boss. Look, is that bow tie